Okay, good evening, everyone. Once again, welcome to our session of each one. Welcome back from the long break. And in today's session, we are going to learn from Rogers how to create end of cycle assessment. Is it end of cycle? From Rogers. Rogers Mukalere is a master trainer. He's a passionate teacher of ICT. He has worked with NCDC, works with Makerere University. He has a startup called Shareability that was recently a winner in Rogers. To remind us that award that you won. Rogers has also been involved in the NSSFI Innovator program. So Rogers is very knowledgeable about things ICT, and he was one of the pioneers of this CBC. He's a master trainer. He has been doing many things in our circles, and you know how generous he is. So because Rogers has a function this weekend, and then the whole month is going to be busy for him, we decided we are not going to wait for these things to end. So we requested that Rogers please comes in and chips in and gives us an idea of how we can set end of cycle assessment under the new curriculum, because it is a topic that is disturbing us left, right, and center. I have interacted with the senior schools that we thought we were to copy borrow a leaf from, and the schools are also still confused. They are still teaching using the old methods because they don't have enough guidance on how to do it in the new curriculum. So Mr. Rogers, without further ado, I want to welcome you, and please take the next 45 minutes to guide us on how to do assessments in the new curriculum. You're welcome, Rogers.
All right, thank you, Mr. Dumba, for the introductions. I hope you can hear me. I know we always have limited time. I want this session to be as interactive as possible. It doesn't have to be Rogers really telling us each and everything. And if possible, I might do a breakaway session because I want us to have a co-creation session. I want to thank all colleagues who have turned up in good big numbers for this session. I'm going to give a quick background. I don't know, are you able to see my screen, Mr. Dumba?
Yes, Rogers, I can see your screen.
Okay, so let me start from past to present. And one, we start with NCDC. NCDC is the architect of this curriculum. The new curriculum is new, and the first time we are going to have end of cycle next year in senior 4. Now, last year, NCDC released some items. If you go to the website of ncdc.go.ug, they released some items, and they were saying that, okay, end of year, this was last year, because they realized teachers have been setting activities of integration and project work, but they are not yet set, and they wanted them to set. So they set some items and they put them on their website. I know some of you might have looked at them. But also they released this circular down here. If you click on this, there is a circular. So when you go to the NCDC website, you go and click on secondary, and then you click on end of year, end of cycle items, and then you'll find a circular. Now, I know some of you might have got access to this circular. Let me quickly first give this circular as a quick background before we dive in. Now, this circular was released and it was giving guidance. Now, NCDC gave guidance. UNEB is also going to give guidance. UNEB has not yet given. I'm going to be talking about UNEB briefly. But what we have right now, this end of year is here. The guidance that we have with us now is the one from NCDC. We are going to get additional guidance from UNEB. Until when it comes, we shall adopt it. But for now, we are using what NCDC has given. That is something I want to give first of all, because some has been saying, okay, let us wait for UNEB. We are waiting for UNEB and we are waiting for it. I'm going to be talking about UNEB. Maybe before I even talk about this circular, let me first talk about UNEB. This is an article which came from UNEB, which was released in the New Vision, a government paper, on September 7th. That is just last month, just a few weeks ago, okay? Talking about what UNEB is doing. Learners respond well to the new curriculum presets, okay? Now, I want to see whether I'm hearing from someone. I want to talk to someone right now. Mr. Mawerere. from Tororo. Are you there? Are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you, sir.
Hey, thank you very much. So can you read for me this paragraph? According to Odongo,
According to Odongo, UNEB is steadily preparing for the assessment of learners, and they have just completed a countrywide pretest of the test items and are currently analyzing the outcome.
Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Mawere. So UNEB remarks were made during when they're releasing the UNEB timetable for PLE recently, and UNEB was saying that learners were responding well to a recently concluded new lower secondary curriculum pretests. And he said that the pretest exercise was conducted in 220 schools involving 6,000 students, and they were showing them how the exam, remember, we shall have an exam out of 80. Many of you have been celebrating, saying that, hey, bye-bye to the old curriculum. Indeed, the old curriculum is going. The new curriculum is setting in. How will it be? So UNEB has been doing some pretests, and exams have been there, and they have been giving this. You will find also another article here where they have also talked about the same structuring and designing exam items based on the new curriculum. And if you search about these kind of items, you'll be able to find on the internet. And the spokesperson explained that the ongoing trials are essentially preliminary versions, dubbed mock trials, designed to assess the subjects in formulating improved assessments. And they anticipate receiving feedback from all NCDC and everywhere. Now, just like I said earlier, NCDC designed the curriculum, and then different people are implementing it. Like they designed the prototypes of textbooks, and then book publishers implemented, and they made now the books after NCDC had made it. So even here, NCDC came out with a prototype last year of how items should be set. This was like a prototype of how exams should be set. And now the implementation body, which is going to implement that, is UNEB, which is going to do now it in the better way. So the final scores will be out of 80%. So what I'm telling you is right now, we are still having the prototypes. And if we are to set, if UNEB has not yet released the final outcomes from each surveys and the pre-mock trials and giving us the final formats of the NCD of the exams as it has got feedback from various stakeholders and the mock trial exams, if UNEB has not yet given us, we still use the prototypes until such a time when the mock trials will come in. So that is a clear disclaimer that I'm giving you, such that we can be able to start. So now, having said that, let me first now go to the guideline from NCDC, which is the first principles. Even UNEB use this to build on this to make something better that we shall expect anytime UNEB is ready. Now, in the new curriculum, there is something where they are saying that the new curriculum focuses on high order thinking items, and items in this category emphasize. I want you to read for me the following. And as we are setting some exams now, today, we are going to base on some of these items that we are going to use to guide us. I want to hear from Mr. Wadimba Deogracius. Are you hearing me? Mr. Wadimba Deogracius, are you there?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. What are things that, read these bullets here. Read for me the first bullet. What is it saying? What should we focus on?
Transfer of knowledge from one context to another.
Okay, another one.
Processing and applying information.
Another one.
Seeing relationships between different information.
Another one.
Using information to solve problems.
Another one.
Critically examining ideas and information.
Okay, so the high order thinking emphasizes these things. We are going to see how can we implement some of these things. As you know, the ministry abolished mid-term and the beginning of term exams every term. Some schools have been hesitant to remain in that syndrome, but they said even when learners are not doing any exams throughout the year, at least at the end of the year, schools will be expected to develop full papers at end of year of senior 1, 2, and 3. Schools, not UNEB, but schools. You are the ones going to set these papers right now. UNEB will be setting the one of next year, but for now it is you, basing on the guideline that we have currently, and that is the guideline from NCDC. And schools will be expected to set. So if I ask you, are you ready? We have only a few weeks left. Are you ready to set this exam? Which exam are your learners going to do at the end of this year? And some sample items were provided, and I'm going to be looking at some of them. But what I want is not to waste out of time on that, but I want us to really go in. So let me now quickly go on to what we are expecting here again as we finalize. Now, many of us have already looked at some of these slides, and I don't want to really waste out of time. I just wanted to give quick background basing on many of us may not have access to this. So there are some slides here that we were using during the trainings that we're conducting with NCDC for the new curriculum. And when they talked about end of cycle assessment, still the thing was high order thinking skills. And we're saying that the summative assessment is going to consist of exams, which are going to be 80% of the grade. And the high order thinking skills, they reflect what you call the Bloom's taxonomy. And it's what I wanted to jump on quickly. So in the old curriculum, we had a lot of questions which asked for define down here, remembering at the bottom ladder of the Bloom's taxonomy, we had what we call questions which ask learners to list it, to define it, to memorize. A lot of questions were in that category. Classify, describe, explain. A lot of questions were down here. But in the new curriculum, we want to encourage more of questions where learners are tasked to produce new original work. And that is at the top level of Bloom's taxonomy, where we have what called create. Okay, we want learners to create, not just replicate whatever they have covered, the notes they have in their class, but they need to create. So they have to design things, assemble things, develop, formulate, even here, in evaluation, appraise, argue, defend. So the questions are going to ask learners to weigh in, to critique. So we want to focus more on high order thinking skills, and then we shall set exams. Now, the formats that were provided last year by NCDC, UNEB has been revising them to see what is better. So UNEB is going to be giving us better formats basing on what they have done in their research. But this is what NCDC provided. And particularly for our subject, which is ICT, they suggested that we should have 2 papers. Paper 1, which is a theory paper made of 2 sections, and all items are compulsory. Okay, a theory paper made of 2 sections, and all items are compulsory. That is what NCDC suggested. UNEB may revise it and give something different, or improved or better based on its survey it has done. But this is what we have right now. And this is, if I'm to set a paper, I'm going to follow this right now. So paper 2 is a practical paper with 2 sections. A candidate is assessed in tasks such as web design, spreadsheets, and PowerPoint. And this is 2 hours, 30 minutes. So if you are to set full paper for senior 3 and you want to set a paper 1 and paper 2, you may have to set a paper having 2 sections for theory and also paper 2. Now, which questions are you going to put? Are you going to set only essay questions? Are you going to set only, are you going to set objectives? Are you going to set what? Let me first ask my members before we proceed. Which kind of questions do you think we should set in these papers? Should we set, someone told me objectives are not supposed to be there. What is your view? Let us look at that quickly. We look at the question types. Then we are going to set some questions before we leave this Zoom session. Let me first ask my colleagues. I don't know whether Mr. I don't see ladies here, so I only have Mr. Kawa James. Mr. Kawa James, are you hearing me? Can you unmute a bit?
Yes, sir.
You can hear me, isn't it?
You can hear me.
Yes. Okay, so in your opinion, we have different types of questions that we have been having even in the old curriculum. We have been having objectives, which are also known as multi-choice questions. We have been having structured, like the section B questions, where learners fill in short answers. And we have also been having essay, like the section C questions. What do you think we should say it here according to what NCDC gave us last year? As we wait for what UNEB will give us, NCDC suggested that we should have a paper with 2 sections. So in your opinion, if you had said section A, what would you put in, kind of questions would you put in section A? Would you put essay? What would you think? Mr. Kawa?
Since the heading is we set the high order.
My friend, Mr. Kawa, your
Yes.
network is not very stable, so we are here, we're just picking one word after another.
My
Mr.
network
Francis,
is clear.
yes, now I can hear you. Can you continue? Oh my God, network is not okay. Mr. Okolong,
Yes,
Sam. Let me first hear from Mr. Okolong, Sam. We shall get your network later. Mr.
Yes.
Okolong?
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
Yes. Have you had a question?
According to me,
Mm.
section A is going to be structured, short answer questions. Then section B is going to be the one like the one we have been having in all curriculum for section C.
Okay, so thank you very much. That is what you have brought in. Now, members, before we proceed, and also in the interest of time, let me remind us about quickly. I know we are going to be, I'm going to, by the way, to have a breakaway sessions, and if you are going to set some questions before we go. So I'm about to really get there, but I want us to be really well informed. Now, there is this other presentation as well, which still was provided by NCDC on principles of assessment and types of assessment items. And my friends there, Mr. Okolongo thinks that we should have only structured questions. But according to this document, NCDC told us that the principles of assessment, when we are assessing, we should make sure that the questions are valid, they achieve the intended purpose, and they reflect actual ability. They should be consistent in interpretation. Learners should easily be able to, they should not be ambiguous. Even in the old curriculum, I've been seeing us sometimes struggling, some teachers setting questions which are ambiguous, objectives which are not understandable. Mr. Luchams can really testify on this. We have been actually sometimes seeing people setting questions and then we say, what is this question asking? And you find that different people think different answers are working, okay? The question should be fair. They should not disadvantage any learner. So you need to find a way of making sure that at least not only, if you ask a question which requires learners to have been in America, yet there are those who have never stepped there. Maybe ask them, unless you can find a way of asking that is really fair. Then it should be flexible, and then also it should be accessible to cater for all learners, and then it should be feasible. So if you ask learners to do something which requires them to spend a lot of money or requires a lot of time, when it is not feasible, it can't be done within the time. You have given learners 1 hour, but you're asking them a question which requires 3 hours. So all these things, we should do them. We should mind of them when we are setting. And the questions, they never said that objectives are not in the new curriculum. Some people may think that objectives are not there. Objectives can still be there, even when you look at the sample formats that NCDC provided. In some paper, in some subjects, multi-choice questions can be there. And they can be matching questions, they can be fill the blanks, they can be odd man out, they can be those questions you set in nursery. You can have questions of matching. So depending on what is the competence coming out, all these questions can be used. But if someone can set an objective when it is really hard, when it requires high order thinking, so they are not really out of the way. They can be there and they can make the paper balanced. If you set your paper when it is only having essay after essay, that paper will not be that paper will not be very, very fair. That paper will not be very fair. If it is only for 3 hours, learners are only writing essays, you may find off balancing your paper, your question types in the various sections. You can have what you call the subjective questions, which are the short response or the structured questions. They are also allowed. And you can also have the extended questions, which are also known as the essay type of questions. And they also are allowed. So I'm not saying that all subjects will set all types of questions, you know. Just like in the old curriculum, not all subjects have objectives. You could find that some subjects like history mainly have essay, okay? You could find that some subjects like chemistry, paper 1 has only objectives. Yeah, but you can have a mixture, like in computer studies, we had a mixture of what? Of objective questions, structured and essay. But like I said, UNEB is going to give us the final format. And I'm not here to say what UNEB is bringing, because UNEB has been cooking and it's about to give us what he has done. What we have right now is the guidance from NCDC and what has been provided for NCDC. So having said all that, we are now going to jump in and look at our syllabus now as ICT. And then I hope you can be able to see the syllabus. So we're going to look at our syllabus of NCDC. And also I'm to give some more guidance on how we are going to set based on what we are having. So what are we going to set? If you open your syllabus book, now I'm in the syllabus book. I'm going okay. Mr. Segirinya. Mr. Segirinya Stephen? Are you hearing me, Mr. Segirinya? Okay, Mr. Tumwini Amos. Hey, my friends, please, let us be active in the class. Yes. So, Mr. Segirinya, are you hearing me?
Hearing you.
Yeah, I was asking which class should we set a paper for end of year?
I think we should set senior 3.
Hey, you think we should set senior 3? Okay. Now, thank you very much. We shall see what we shall do. By the way, we can decide to collaborate. We can have a session today. We do something. We give ourselves the homework. Then we go and compile some questions. Then we can meet again and now put together a paper, because time may not be our good ally, but let us see what we can do. So in the new curriculum, we have what you call themes and topics, okay? So for senior 1, we have a topic called Introduction to ICT. So ideally, if we are setting a paper for senior 3, I would expect a paper that is balanced and testing each of these topics summatively. So we should have a question on all topics covered. So if I'm setting senior 1, I should set a paper when it is testing Introduction to ICT, testing computer hardware and system startup, a question from file manager and file and folder management, a question from word processing. If I'm setting even senior 2, I should not set only senior 2 work. I should set from senior 2 and from senior and up to, because even UNEB will set the whole senior up to senior 4. So I should set my paper having a question from PowerPoint, a question from health and safety, but I should make sure my questions are somehow different from how they were in the old curriculum. These ones should be more of HOTS, as we are going to see, but also my paper should be somehow fair and balanced and have different types of questions, assessment items, not one type, and also try to follow what NCDC suggested as the formats. So senior 3, I have word processing, 2 spreadsheets, electronic publication, database systems. So we are going to end here. We are not going to set a paper of web design, that is senior 4. And these other items here, which are in senior 4. So we are going to end on this area. Now, I want also to give this guidance that when you look at how we have been setting the activities of integration, the activities of integration are hot in nature. because activities of integration, they require Bloom's high level, the lowest, the upper level of Bloom's taxonomy. Let me just show you what I'm saying. We don't want to just make learners to type. So let me just show this again. Remember, in the UNEB, in the old curriculum, this is a sample activity of integration before we set the end of year exam. I want to give this example here quickly before we set a question from, for example, word processing. This is from word processing. Mr. Dumba, are you seeing my screen? Okay, I hope you are seeing. Mr. Patrick Avant, are you seeing my screen?
Yes, I'm seeing the screen.
Okay, so this was a sample activity of integration. This one was provided in the first initial NCDC training materials that were provided. This one was from a topic of word processing. And the question was like this. It was saying that your class is planning an end of year party at the end of the term, scheduled to take place in the main hall on 21st November this year, starting at 8 a.m. Now, this is a scenario, okay? This is a scenario. And in HOTS, in high order thinking, scenario-based questions are welcome because they make learners to think. Then they are telling the learners to word process and a letter inviting the teacher and members of staff to the end of year party with emphasis to fonts and paragraphs. Now, look here. They are not giving learners words to type the way it has been in UNEB of this year. UNEB of this year, which is old curriculum, they gave learners to type a lot of things, and they told them, do this, make this bold, make this underlined, do this. That is not high order thinking. The learners are being spoon-fed, okay? Learners are being spoon-fed, and they are being told to do each and everything, okay? I don't know, members, whether you are really trying to understand what I'm saying here. This is the UNEB. I don't know whether I have the paper for this year. I was going to open it. Okay. Computer studies, I can just open any paper here and then we look at it. So the paper that we have been having has been, we have been telling learners to just we have been spoon feeding them. We give them each and everything and they don't think, okay? But what happens is, in the new curriculum, we don't have to tell learners to do that. We need to find a way of setting questions which are going to make them to think and come up with their own creation of content that they have managed to do. Now, I was trying to relate it with the activity of integration here. So they have not managed to open the question. So in this case, they have not told learners what to type. They've just given them a scenario. They have to think, and then they want learners to type this letter. They think of their own words in this letter, and they format it. They are not telling learners the instructions that make columns. Do what learners are supposed to choose themselves where to put columns, and all that. Now, this is how we have been setting activities of integration. So when we are setting UNEB, when you are setting end of cycle exams, we can actually set some questions, borrow a leaf from how we have been setting activities. The activities of integration have been hot in nature. Activities of integration are hot in nature. They require transfer of knowledge. They require learners to create. In this case, they are creating a letter. Learners have some creativity in there, and then they need to utilize and apply the competency that they have learned in a particular topic. So this is something that was there in the activity of integration. So when we are setting our exams, we can have some questions in that line, which are scenario-based questions, and then they bring out, and then learners can be able to demonstrate the competency that has been needed. Okay, so this time, I think that has been background information. So now I want us to try to see how we can look at our paper. So according to the guideline that we saw that we are going to have two sections. So we can choose as ourselves and we say, okay, left section. Now we are looking at the theory paper, and also we have the practical paper, okay, which is paper 2. Paper 2, we have covered, what have we covered in paper 2? We have covered word processing, we have covered the spreadsheets, that is Excel. We have also covered the database, okay? And also we have covered PowerPoint. So we have actually covered the 4 numbers by senior 3. Word was senior 1 work, Excel was senior 2 work, then we had the publisher, electronic publication. If you look at our, I don't know whether we should first start by looking at the practical paper. Maybe it may be a bit easier for us to set. So we have publisher here, which is senior 3 term 2. We have database here, senior 3 term 3. We have Word, and then we have Excel, okay? And then we also have PowerPoint. So I'm seeing this paper is like a whole complete A-level paper, but then we need to bring in some scenarios, okay? And then we have to set it in such a way that learners demonstrate as much of the skills and competences that we have taught them in this item that we are going to set, okay? So, and then when we are looking at the end of cycle assessment guidelines, paper 2 is going to be also having 2 sections, and the candidate is assessed in tasks such as web design, spreadsheets, and PowerPoint. Okay, so now let us look at section A, and then we have section B. What can we have? What is very foundation? Can we make section A to have some compulsory questions, just like it has been in the old curriculum? According to the guidelines from NCDC, members, I'm starting with the practical paper. I'm starting with practical paper. That's what I'm starting with. And I wanted to give a quick breakaway session, and we start by looking at this. How can we enhance a question we have been setting in all the curriculum? How can we enhance it to be a new curriculum kind of paper question, where we are not over spoon feeding the learner with the do this, bold this, underline this, insert this picture, where we're just asking a learner a problem, a learner thinks, does a product, and prints out, just like we have been setting active, but when it's something that a learner is going to do. So what are you recommending? Should we still put the word processing and spreadsheets in section A, and then we put the publisher, database, and the PowerPoint in section B, according to our syllabus here? And here they are saying all items are okay. Section B, a paper is practical with 2 sections. The candidate assessment such as this, it is also having 2 sections according to the prototype that the guideline from NCDC here. So let me first hear your opinion, members, from here before we see what we can do. Mr. Chamuzi, what is your opinion here on how can we, which questions should we put in section A? Which topics should we put in section B? Should we put something small on each question in section A, or we can just do something and then we just change the way we are setting these questions to be more competence-based? Mr. Chamuzi.
Yes. I don't know.
Yes, I can see you have unmuted.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you. Yes, go ahead.
It is not very good. If you, but to me, in section A, I think we can include topics like introduction, computer systems, from each class. For section A, let us include.
I'm first talking about practical.
Practical. Of course, practical, we can use the other previous order. With the practical, let word processing be number 1. Then we can go to spreadsheet. Those are the basics, electronic presentation. Then I don't know whether we have people who have covered databases like me. I think we can. I'm not sure whether all, looking at the time, whether people have been able to cover all those topics the way they appear.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Mawerere, what's your view?
Thank you, Mr. Mkalere. My view is that we get word processing and Excel in section A, and we make it comparison that every learner must do it. Then section B, we put PowerPoint, the electronic presentation. We put publication and the databases. Then a learner is meant to pick, maybe we can say one, because I'm hearing some members are saying that they have not covered some of the topics there. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, so members, we need to do something in the time, in the current situation, because UNEBA has not yet given us their final formats, but for now we need to do something. But when we are following the guidelines NCDC gave us, to be questions to be more of high order. Now, what I'm going to ask us, we are going to choose a question. You can just get any old curriculum question, and then we change it to a mode that we think is more competence-based, is more high-order thinking, is more whereby learners are not being spoon-fed, but learners are being given a scenario. So we need to come up with some kind of scenario, and then learners will be able to do and come up with a product or come up with something that is they are going to create. Okay, and this when they are demonstrating the features of the application they are looking at. So you can get a number from even this UNEB of this year or any for a quick. Then we see, and then you tell us how you have modified this question to be more befitting of the new curriculum. I'm going to ask us to do this. Then after that, we shall come back. Now also for all the curriculum, for section A, which is theory also, we need to, instead of, let me first bring this now, because I know time is not much, it's not very, very great slide. Members, are you seeing my screen?
Yes, yes.
I've just opened some paper here. There is someone who set it. This one set end of term one, which was not supposed to be the case because we are only supposed to end of year. But I'm seeing defining the term hardware. This is very at the bottom of the Bloom's taxonomy. This is just defining. So I don't expect a lot of questions like this. Explain 4 categories and they're just listing them here. Remember the Bloom's taxonomy, the things that we looked at, what where we are supposed to focus. Okay. Let me first go back here. Okay. So I don't know whether you are seeing the whole of my screen, whether you are seeing. So members, I'm critiquing some paper that someone said, but question number 1 is asking to define. Question number 2 is asking to explain. Okay. My friend here is still in the old curriculum. He's at the bottom of Bloom's taxonomy here. Define, duplicate, explain. This is not good. We are supposed to be more of up this side, okay, when we are setting our questions. And also we are supposed to bring in scenarios which are going to ask learners, which are going to make learners to apply, transfer knowledge, the way NCDC suggested. So how best can I set a question for hardware, which is going to make my learners to think and come up with something that they are going to create? They can create many things. Maybe let me first ask some members before I proceed. What are some of the things learners can create? What are some products learners can create when they are doing their theory paper? They are only having papers, pens. They are having a set. They are just having graph papers and the booklets. but they must create products. What are some of those products that we can ask learners to do, to create? Because the Bloom Summit tells us to create things. So, Mr. What are some of those things you are going to ask learners to create? Mr. Amos. Or another person.
We can ask learners. Thank you, Rogers. We can ask learners to create, let's say, on the topic of file and folder management, to create a file, to create a folder, maybe the steps taken in renaming a folder, recovering a folder that has been deleted. Yeah, probably.
Okay. Now, I'm looking at theory now. Because for practical, I first of all said, we are going to find a way of embedding scenarios so that we don't just spoon feed learners with the do this, do this, do this. We just give them a problem, they do. For example, I tell learners they have learned databases, like Mr. Chamza said, he has sold databases. I ask learners that a school or your club needs a database for storing information about students, okay? One, design, which tables can we have? Which kind of data can we capture? Whereby learners will think of their own tables, will think of their own fields, make their own, think of data, create, think of their, without me telling them, even think of which queries to create, okay? Whereby I'm not over telling learners, do this, do this, do this, do this. You can just ask a few things and then learners can think and create something creatively accordingly. That is the when it comes to practical. If it is a website, if it is a Microsoft Word, like this example I showed, I don't have to give learners the words to type. I can be able to tell them, I want this is what I want. And then learners will go ahead and come up with the letter, or come up with the timetable, or come up with the that item that I want them to do without me over, whereby learners will think, there's critical thinking, and then they will apply knowledge to that situation scenario, and they will come up with what? With a product, which will be that later. That is practical. Now, when it comes to theory, I've said that let us borrow a leaf from activities of integration. I don't know whether you can see my screen. Are you seeing my screen?
We are seeing it.
Now, when we have been setting activities of integration, we have been asking learners to create things. And there are many things that they have been creating. Look at the output column here. Are you seeing the output column? We've been asking learners to create a blog, a letter, a speech, a report, directions, guidelines, a poster, a banner, a leaflet, an article, a memo, and many other things. This is the highest level of Bloom's taxonomy, creating, not defining. Okay. So even when it is theory, like in this case, how could this teacher make these learners to set a better paper to do instead of just defining? How can we set learners? For example, we are looking at hardware, computer hardware. Okay. How best, is there anyone who can give us a scenario? I want someone to give us a scenario which is going to test learners, and then learners are going to give us answers. We are looking at input, output, storage, processing hardware, and we want to test them. We want to come up with some scenario. Who can give me some scenario? Then from there, learners are going to do something. Mr. Nixon. Yes, Mr. Nixon. Yes.
From the example of say, let's assume Mr. Rogers, like,
yes,
is one maybe an online class. You're in Kampala and the students are in, say, for example, Mbale. The school is in Mbale. So we shall say, Mr. Rogers wants to conduct.
Yes, we are going to say what?
We are going to say Mr. Rogers wants while he's in
Mr. Rogers wants to what?
Wants to with your class while he's in Kampala. One student.
My friend, I don't know whether you should settle. I'm not, you are jumping off, but yet I wanted to hear your good submission.
Did you get the first section of Mr. Rogers wants to conduct an online class with one student? Then,
Mr. Rogers
now
wants to conduct an online class
with the senior one students while in Kampala. As a senior one student, how could you help attend?
What do you want the learner to do?
How could want this learner to guide us on how they could attend the lesson without moving to Kampala?
Okay, thank you very much. Now, thank you very much. Now, your question requires some knowledge of networking. Because it requires internet, how will this person connect? Of course, you may have to use which devices the learner may need, maybe a webcam. Because remember, I'm talking about computer hardware. And by the way, let me bring this again. When you are setting a paper, when you are setting a question, look at the competence, okay, and then the learning outcomes. That is another thing that I had actually forgotten. When you are setting, let these things be at the back of your mind. So we are setting a question on this topic. Okay, are you seeing members my screen? Mr. Segirinya?
Yes, we are seeing it.
Okay, so what is the competency here on computer hardware? What's the competency? You can read for me, Mr. Nixon? Hey, Mr. Brambale Ediga.
Yes, Mr. Rogers, good evening.
Okay, read for me the competency.
As of now, no competency I'm reading here, but if I was to come up with mine.
No, first read for me the competency,
Hello?
please. The competency is here. Competence of computer hardware. Are you seeing it? The one I've highlighted.
I can't see anything.
We are not seeing that screen.
We're only seeing the question paper.
Hey, so that's why that's why I had to make sure I check. Are you seeing now?
Yes,
Not
we're
yet.
seeing.
You are seeing, yeah?
Yes.
Yes,
So
I'm
what is the
seeing.
competency? What's the competency?
On my side, not yet.
Let me read the competencies that the learner understands the importance of physical device of a computer system and uses them in everyday life.
Okay, so members, when you are coming up with your scenario, be guided by the competence. The competence is what the learner will demonstrate in that question. That is. So the learner demonstrates the importance of physical devices in a computer system and uses them in everyday life. And then the learning outcomes are here, which granularly break down that competency. Know the physical devices of a computer, assemble a computer system, safely shut down, and then use peripherals. Your question may not be just like in the old curriculum questions. The question may not say everything about the topic. Your question may be based on assembling. Your question may be based on knowing the devices. Your question may be based on this learning outcome of using periodical. It may be cutting across two, maybe safely shutting down and then using. So a question may be having two parts. But so my friend earlier suggested a question about an online class. And yet that one, according to me, requires some other things of also internet and other knowledge. And so that other question again may be in another chapter where we're talking about the internet and all those things. So in this case, when I'm to set my question, and by the way, I'm going to actually let me open some of these sample questions that NCDC gave. Let me open the one of ICT here, okay? You can have actually a picture. You can even have an illustration in you can have an illustration where need be, you can ask learners. So this is one of those sample items. I know that it is delaying a bit, but I want us to be there. So in each of our, as we are setting, we need to go to a given topic, look at the competency, think of a scenario, then bring in a question which is scenario based. It will make learners to think, and then they will apply knowledge, and then tell them to do something. They can write. They can write even a write-up, even a simple essay can be explaining how maybe to assemble a system, explaining what could have been the problem, which devices may be needed for a given that scenario, trying to bring in learners to be able to understand that they can in the topic. Okay. This other resource is delaying. I don't know whether I already downloaded it. ICT Circle. Okay, I don't have it yet. Okay, so that is the guidance that I wanted to give. I don't know the members are trying to get me here. Let me hear from Evans. I see my time is already moved. Evans, are you able to unmute?
Yes, please.
Evans and then Ukule.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, you have an input? Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I have an input. So I want to thank you, Ghana Rogers,
yes,
for such insights and guidance. I also have a suggestion of the question as far as the hardware is concerned. Yeah, we can look at it as a way of examining the learners about the hardware, computer hardware devices. I may have a scenario like this. I may say a school is planning to have a handover ceremony for the outgoing prefects and incoming prefects. So as an IC student, you have been selected to design certificates for the outgoing prefects. So what are the devices can you use to create those certificates and print them and avail them to the school to be awarded to the learners? So that is my simple question. I can just, yes, that is my simple question, sir.
Now, your question, the way you have asked it, it is saying the question could be good, the scenario might be nice, but you are just asking learners what are the devices. That means learners may just list. And yet when we are setting, actually when you are even marking, you are going to see there is some coherency, there is some what. So this was a sample items. And the members, the way we have been discussing, you can see here, Kidore has used his computer to capture information about his ministers for the last. Let me hope you are seeing my screen. Are you seeing my screen, Mr. Evans?
Yes, you're seeing it.
No, but it is
seeing,
one side. It's just one side. Maybe you.
I'm seeing it, but the words are very, very small. I don't see them very well.
Okay. Okay, the words are very small. So these sample items that NCDC gave were just to give us a guideline, okay, on what we can be able to do.
Yes.
And okay. So here the NCDC, this is to remind the teacher to keep the learning outcomes in mind as he develops the items. Keep the learning outcomes in mind. So open your syllabus and then see, okay, where am I drawing? What do I want to examine learners on? So suggest an appropriate solution that Kidori can use to solve this problem. So of course I could ask, this one could be like a structured question. In a computer lab, learners will access files from fellows. Suggest appropriate measures that may be put. So you find in each question there is some kind of scenario and learners are applying knowledge. These ones are short answer questions. Now I'm having here where I have extended questions. where there is a bigger scenario. Imagine you are at the campsite and in a remote village and realize that there are many feature nears with the campsite for your geography project. You need to take a number of photos with these features. You only have access to devices with you and an internet connection. A new digital camera that does not have memory card in it, but has internal storage that can accommodate 5 images, and a laptop whose webcam is faulty. Both the laptop and the camera support Bluetooth. You need to take not less than 30 photos. Explain in details how you can get all the necessary photos taken while using the camera, laptop, and internet without leaving the campsite. Okay, so you find that they have even mentioned some devices and they want learners to demonstrate whether they know the use and how each of these can be used. And there's even a sample marking guide here of what can be done for and how they are going to score these questions here. Okay, and for this one, which the section which is more of criteria, there is something on coherence, how the learner was able to connect the flow of his response. That means the question should not just ask learners to list items. At which devices would you need? The learner will just list items, especially for the essay kind of questions. They list where learners write something like a sort of essay, a sort of memo whereby learners can demonstrate that they know. And remember, in the new curriculum, we are having what we call subject integration. Whether it is ICT, we want learners to demonstrate that they know how to write well, how to come up with whatever they are coming up with. So whatever they are doing here is actually creating these essays. Yeah, so if you look at these questions here, they never had a lot of illustrations, but you are free to put in pictures. If you look at other subjects, you can bring a picture and then give a scenario and then ask learners. But also, like we said, you could even have section A, maybe because some of these things, if a learner is weak in comprehension and you're only setting only scenario after scenario, the paper might be boring for learners who are weak in comprehension. So you may need to decide, say, okay, maybe my theory section A, I'm going to use some questions which require filling in, which require matching, which require, you can set some simple questions which require even the objectives. You can say it, you can choose. Let us be creative in how we are setting our paper. Section A, then section B, you can bring in or you can set structured section A and then you set essay section B. Yeah, let us not only set one type of question, but we should set different types of questions, mix them so that there is different abilities. Learners who are weak at comprehension are not disadvantaged because all questions require a lot of comprehension. Yeah, so let us try to see that we balance the papers. Remember the principles of assessment. Remember to anchor your questions when you are looking at the competency and the learning outcomes of the topic. And then remember to not to just set recall questions at the bottom ladder of the Bloom's taxonomy, but also to focus on the upper side of the Bloom's taxonomy. So basically, that is what I wanted to give you. Now, I had wanted to break us, but I'm thinking I've taken most of the time, but I don't want us to break us and either we said something maybe in practical. I think practical might be easier. But I don't know what we can do, or we can give ourselves an assignment and then we can come back another day and we put together our papers. If we can set one paper and then another paper, it would be good. So I think this is what we should do. Let me give this as an assignment. And I'm going to break us into two groups. Okay, so that one group can set theory, and then another group can, I don't know whether that can work, and then another group can try to set some items for what? For practical. And this is how we are going to do it. This is how we are going to do it, because we need to do something, not to just come here and then we'll go when we are not done something. So this is what I'm doing as we finalize on our session today. I hope members you can see my screen. Now we are finalizing and we see a way forward. We need to set something that we shall be proud of, and it will also build on what NCDC gave us last year. Members, are you seeing the syllabus book right now?
Yes, we are seeing it.
Okay, so this is what we are going to do. I can see, yeah, I have my breakout rooms here. So I'm going to break us into only 2 groups. We are 33. We are 33. Okay, let me see. Let me not do 2 groups. Let me do 4 groups. Yeah, 4 groups will be good enough. So we are going to do like this. I'm going to assign you to a group and I'm going to give you only 5 minutes. What you are going to do is you are going to select which topic you are going to set on. So group 1 and 2, you are going to set theory. So you have the following topics. You have introduction to ICT, computer hardware, and file and folder management. Those are 3. You have information access and sharing. You have health and safety. Those are 5. You have, and by the way, for theory, I think you have to set everything, even the practical topics. Even the practical topics, you can actually appear in theory. A question can come when it is on Word or on Excel, but when it is in theory. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. 8 questions, 8. Then I have 9, and then I have 10. I'm not word processing too. I'm not counting again. I'm counting that as an one. So I have 10 topics. Okay. Yeah, 10 topics. So I'm going to put in group 1 and group 2. I'm going to put there how many people? I'm going to put there like 5. I'm going to put there 10 people. Okay. Yeah, so we are going to have actually 3 groups. Group 1 and group 2, you are going to look at paper 1. Then group 3 is going to look at paper 2. And group 3 are only going to look at Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and then database. Those are 5 topics. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so those are 3 groups. Okay, so when you reach your group, all you have to say is choose a topic. Just boldly choose a topic. Then you will set these questions. Then you are going to send to our email these questions. Then we shall get another time. I think we still have some time. We can get next Tuesday. I don't know if it will be too late. Next Tuesday, we can come again with our questions. Now, even me, I will set something, and then we compile, and then we critique them. At least we do some paper that we shall be able to do. So, okay. So now, Mr. Wamono, you are there. Mr. Wamono, Mr. Chamuzi, we are there. The members who have been speaking, I'm trying to make some members co-hosts here. We are going to spend a very short time, and I'm going to be putting you in those groups. Okay, so that we don't waste much time. I know time has gone, but we are going to finish in the next 15 minutes. So when you reach in your group, just choose a topic that you are going to be looking at. So I'm also going to jump into the groups as we can be able to start. So, okay. So choose a room. Just choose a room. If you have not yet chosen, I'm going to add you in there. You click on where there's breakaway rooms, and then you join. I'm going to also try to assign. If you want practical, you join group 3. But I might just choose a room quickly. Just choose a room quickly. Just choose a room where there is. Just join a room quickly, and then we choose questions. We shall come back next Tuesday, and then we finalize on what we need to do. I see many people are trying to choose Okay.
Hello, something happened, but we are back. The man was still speaking. Rogers, are you still here? Something happened to
You never joined the breakaway rooms. The breakout rooms are open. Just join, just go click on where there's breakout rooms and then you join a given breakaway room. Okay, so let me join group 2. First of all, right now. I've been in group 1. I'm joining now group 2 so that I can see what they are saying. We are going to be coming back here within like 5 minutes. Okay, now everyone is coming back and we are going to be wrapping up within like 3 minutes. Everyone is now coming back. Their breakaway sessions are done. Mr. Adumba. Hello, Mr. Adumba.
Yes, Rogers.
We are now finalizing. We're going to finalize in like 3 minutes. Our breakaway sessions are done. Let me just wrap up and then we.
Okay. I think you can conclude.
Yeah.
For me, I not be around, unfortunately.
No, I'm concluding within a few minutes. I've closed the breakaway sessions. Okay, so members, welcome back all from the breakaway sessions. We have been discussing in there about we have assigned everyone a topic to set about. I think what we can do, we can send the whatever you set, you send it to this email, info@ictteachers.net. You can send here on this email. I hope members can see. You can set on this email and then we shall
We
see.
are not seeing it, Mr. Rogers.
I
We're
see
not
the
seeing
first.
Not yet.
You are not seeing?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Are you now seeing?
Not yet. The screen is black.
I think you can look in the chat so that we can just.
The screen is very small, eh?
No, it is. It has not yet displayed it clear.
I think you can zoom it. You can zoom it so that we can.
It's
Yeah.
okay.
Now we can see it.
There it is okay. It is visible.
Okay,
there.
you're now seeing it, eh?
Yes.
Okay. So members, let us set, you get a question based on what we discussed. Group 1 and Group 2, you are setting questions. Group 1 is setting senior 2 topics, theory. Group 2 is setting senior 1 topics, theory. And then Group 3 is setting the practical topics. Okay. And we have been discussing in the groups how we are going to discuss. I hope members, all of you were active there. Let us see, send that in whatever you have set. You should send it, if possible, by Monday so that we copy and harmonize everything. And I will also try to set and then compile into a paper, and then we shall share it. It was not possible for us to
post
set
that
it
email
during
again.
this session.
You can post that,
it here.
yes.
I'll post it in the chat, and also I shared it here. Email. Yeah, so let us do that and follow the principles that we have discussed, and we shall be good to go. So I want to end here, unless if there is any other comment or any other question. I want to end here. Send set sample items and send. Okay. Yeah, set and send to that email. We shall be able to access it, and then we compile something and collaborate. Now, in case you need the other documents I've been talking about, you can find them on NCD's website, but also you can find them on this link, bit.ly/updated slides. You can find some of the slides I've been using and other guidelines from NCDC. You follow this link and then you open them. Okay, thank you very much. I want to end here, and I want to wish you all a nice evening. Mr. Dumba, you could close if you are still there.
Thank you so much too.
Okay. Okay, members, thank you very much, and I wish you all a nice evening.
Thank you too. Nice evening too.
All right.